Hi friends, it's Peggy Noe from prettypapercards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you how to make a peony Christmas card. And this is what we're going to make together. And so let's get started. I'll show you just how to do it. So we're starting with a card base of that is 7 3/4 inch long across and 5.5 inches up and down. And that's going to form the card that we are making today. You're going to score it at 4 1/4. So basically it's the normal size card with 3/4 of an inch cut off this end. And I think that just gives a little interest. It just makes the card a little bit different, doesn't it? And we're using today the Peony Garden Designer Series paper. And we're using this particular sheet. This is just a little piece of that sheet that has the flowers on the front in gray and white. And on the back side is, if you can see that, I'll hold it up close, a very faint patterned gray. And we're going to put this gray pattern right here. So this is going to show out when we close our card. It's going to be part of how our card works. So let's get that adhered with some multi-purpose glue. And we're just going to put just a little on the edges, not a lot. If you make a little blurb of it, then it shows on the outside of your card, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to put that right up at the edge of our card, like that. Now this piece is 1 inch wide, 1 inch by 5.5. But the opening is only 3/4 of an inch there, so we can make sure that this way, whatever you write on the inside, you're sure that it's not going to show on the outside. We want to make sure about that. So that's the one part. Now the second thing we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of the reverse side of that with those flowers on the front, but we're going to color it in. And I've already started coloring because it would take a while to do it all with you, but I've left some uncolored, and as you can see, it's going to fit right on here. This piece is 3.5 by 5.5 inches, and if we didn't color it, it would just completely look like it does down here. But we're coloring it in today with some Stampin' Blends. We're going to start with the Real Red Stampin' Blends from Stampin' Up, and we're going to start with the light Stampin' Blend to color the buds, the peony buds. And like I said, I've left a few for us to color together because it does take a little while. Now you'll notice if you look closely, this paper, the flowers and the leaves are very nicely shaded. So the shading is already built in. The red covers it somewhat, and so we're going to go back in with the dark Stampin' Blend and add a little more of that shading. But for right now, I'm just going over it first with the light color. And I think those buds are just sweet, and it makes a really pretty holiday background, I think. Did I get all of them? Oh no, we've got one down here. Can you see that? I hope I've got it in the camera. Okay, good. So that's our last peony to color in with the light Real Red Stampin' Blend. And now we're going to go back in with the dark one, and we're just going to go over those lines, the shading lines that you see. And you can tell that I've done that on the others, and it just really makes it stand out. It just gives some nice dimension. And we don't even have to wonder where the shading is. That's a nice thing because the paper already has it for us. So we just follow the lines in the paper, and that gives us that shading. Okay, now we're ready to do the leaves and the stems. Now the leaves and the stems have some really heavy shading. I'm going to use a light Old Olive Stampin' Blend, and you can see up here it looks like I've done shading, but because this is light, the shading from the paper actually shows through very, very well. And you don't we don't even need to use the dark Stampin' Blend. All we do is use the light one, and the paper does the shading for us because it comes through. So really, you just give it a very, very light touch. And look how pretty that looks when you put that color on there. It really brings the shading out. This is what I like so much. Stampin' Up! About Stampin' Up! Their papers are beautiful. Their products are beautiful. Every new catalog, we're all looking to see what beautiful papers will come out. And I always have to have every one. That's why I usually do a paper share. So when a new catalog comes out, you can look for that on my blog, because I usually do one. We won't have one now again until probably the end of December or the 1st of January for the next catalog. But that way, I do it almost selfishly, because that way I get a little taste of all the papers, because I get to order them, and I usually keep a share for myself. So isn't this so pretty how this coloring is looking? And it's just so easy. When I was doing the first part of this for you before we started, because I knew it would take pretty long, I really and seriously almost put myself to sleep because it's so relaxing. Coloring is just so relaxing. And I think, have I got them all? Maybe I didn't get that one. I don't know. It looks like we've got all of them. Isn't that just so pretty? I just love it. So now we're going to put this Designer Series paper piece right on top of our card here, the front of our card. And the Stampin' Blends do blend through, so that's the gray, but we've got the little dots from our coloring. And so we're just going to glue this onto the front. And the multi-purpose glue gives us a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm actually going to put it out like this so that I can see if I get it right to the end there. Okay, I think we have it right on the end. I hope I have that so you can see it. And there's the front of our card. Isn't that pretty? Now let's decorate it. And for the decorating, I'm using a die from the Painted Labels dies by Stampin' Up! Specifically this one here, this a neat kind of abstract circle. And I see that I have some little white pieces left in it from when I was doing my sample card. So I'm going to poke those out with my pick tool. This is called the Stampin' Up! Pick tool. And we'll get that out of there so we have a clean die. And now we're going to bring up the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And today I'm going to use the magnetic plate because I'm using a die. And I'd like for it to stay where it is. This is the new magnetic plate for the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. The magnet is all throughout. It's not just places all over where the magnet is. It's a complete sheet, magnetized sheet. And it is supposed to be self-healing, and it has been self-healing, except when I cut piece out, the word piece, the other day. I don't know if it was a little damp or why that stuck in there so much, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. So we're going to run this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And it's so quiet. I just love this new machine. There we go. And now we'll get our die out. And we'll use take your pick tool again to poke those pieces out. And this is such a fun circle. I really love this particular die. In fact, when I was looking at it today, I thought, I don't even use this as much as I should because I like it so much. So let's get our circle to release here. And we can just pull it right out. There we go. And there it is. Isn't that just really a nice circle? I just think it's fun. It adds some fun interest. So here's the front of our card, our Peony Christmas card, and we're just going to put this circle right on the front using our Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to use 3 Stampin' Dimensionals to make sure that, to make sure it's balanced here for us. And then we're just going to put this in the very center of the card, centered from top to bottom and centered from side to side. You know, hopefully. It's not going to be perfect, but there we go. Now we're going to stamp our sentiment. And I think I mentioned that I'm using a different stamp set for the sentiment, a different die set, and different designer series paper. So it's not part of a set. Everything I just pulled from other places. And this sentiment is coming from the Poinsettia Petal stamp set, which is in the August to December Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. And you would think that the Merry Christmas stamp would be about that size. Well, guess what? It's very large. Look at that. And it makes, the font is nice. It's just a great stamp. And that's why I wanted to use it today. So I have my Stampin' Pierce mat out, which because this is a photopolymer or clear stamp, it doesn't have any padding, and we need to add a little bit of padding to help it have a really good impression. So I'm using real red ink, and I'm going to try to make sure that my stamp is inked very well. And I have an extra piece in case I make a mistake. I always keep an extra piece. And we'll just put, it's easy to stamp, and we're going to press down nice and firm. Isn't that really a nice sentiment? I may just use it on all my holiday cards because it's just a really beautiful, beautiful font, and it's nice and large, and I think it's going to look good there. So we're going to use a couple of dimensionals again. Now this time I'm going to be careful to put my dimensionals just in this area because I don't want to put them out to the edge. So I think I'll try for the very center and then on each side of the center, because I want it to be adhered actually to the actual circle so that it stays nice and firmly. And we'll take those little papers off. And here we go. And we'll just try to get that again in the very center with a little bit extending on each edge. That's pretty good. I like it. And now we need to add a little bit of bling. We're going to add some red rhinestones. And I'm going to put those on actually with my scissors. I like to use my paper snips because I can get a hold of those little guys pretty well. And I'm going to put one right down here. And then I'm going to put 2 up higher. I always love putting just a little bit of bling on every card. Some people aren't as crazy about bling, but I do like it. There we go. That's very cute. Now let's just stamp a little something on our inside of our card and on our envelope. I always like to do that. And I'm going to pull another stamp from the Poinsettia Petal stamp set. I'm going to pull this berry stamp here. And I'm not going to use the Stampin' Pierce mat to put it under. This is somewhat padded right here. I have a desk pad. So I'm just going to use that. And get my stamp turned right around. Okay, there's the inside of my card. And now let's do the envelope. And we'll just add a little more ink, and there we go. Because it's so nice to always do your envelope. Stamp your envelope or give it a little extra something. And there's our card for today. I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. Again, it uses the Poinsettia Petal stamp set, the painted labels dies, and the paper is the Peony Garden paper that we've colored with the Stampin' Blends. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love for you to do that so you get all my videos. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.